House Republicans have made criminal referrals to the Department of Justice for Hunter and James Biden's lying to Congress. Republican leaders say the two were attempting to cover up for President Joe Biden. We're going to talk about that. The website, TonyPerkins.com, lots of resources there for you. Be sure and check it out. Well, it was on June 6, 1944, that more than 160,000 Allied troops landed on the heavily fortified beaches of Normandy in Axis-occupied France to confront the Axis powers head-on. And on this day, 80 years later, we remember those who led that invasion and fought in the Second World War. Earlier today, a congressional delegation spent time in Normandy, and tomorrow we'll actually reenact the historic aerial invasion, which includes a parachute jump from a Douglas C-47 Skytrain. Well, joining me now is Congressman Keith Self, who is a part of this delegation. He serves on the House Committee on Foreign Affairs and the House Veterans Affairs Committee. He represents the 3rd Congressional District of Texas. Congressman Self, welcome back to Washington Watch.
Thank you, Tony. Thanks for having me. We've had a great day here.
So earlier today, President Biden spoke. He's there in Normandy. Tell us a little bit about the ceremony and the celebrations thus far.
Well, individually, they brought the World War II veterans onto stage individually. So they got introduced, they got clapped for, applauded. This was a great day, Tony. We have both the living veterans, and then you see that I'm here amongst the gravestones of almost 10,000 Americans who died either on D-Day or soon after D-Day. We've been addressing both today because this is an important place in American history.
It is 80 years ago, but we're losing our history. We're losing an understanding of the importance of standing firm and resolute against the rise of evil. And in many ways, we see a recurrence of what brought about World War II.
And I want to make the point, Tony, that that's why I'm here, both to remember and to make sure that we are worthy of the sacrifice that these men around me here and those men that were on the stage today, that they sacrificed so much. They literally went into a living hell across Omaha Beach to secure freedom for Europe. That's what we need to be worthy of. And I believe that we need to be, we leaders of the nation, the House members that are going to jump tomorrow, we need to do this to simply tell the American people that this is still important. What we are doing here is still important.
Now, you yourself, along with the other members of the delegation that will be jumping tomorrow, are all veterans. You're a decorated veteran. When you stand there at Normandy and you look back 80 years and you look forward to where America stands today, what weighs most on your mind?
What weighs most on my mind is you played part of President Roosevelt's prayer. And he talked about our faith has to be maintained. Our civilization has to be maintained. That's what we're losing today. I say that they're trying to take 3 things away from us: our nuclear family, our Judeo-Christian faith foundation, and our history. Those are the 3 things that we seem to be losing to the progressive left. Those are the things that we need to be standing strong for.
Yeah, when we look back, and I'm going to talk about this later in the program, we look back and often the World War II generation called the greatest generation. But as we just heard, as you've made reference to the prayer, there was no hesitancy to acknowledge that a moral, religious foundation was needed in order to have that strength and to display that strength on the world stage, and the fact that we needed God's intervention.
Not only do we need his intervention, we need as one of our founders said, only a virtuous people can know freedom. Because we need a civic conscience. We need a governor on ourselves, answer to a higher being, not to government. So it's that faith component that makes us good citizens.
From what you've experienced thus far, what's been the highlight of your trip there to Normandy?
The highlight is seeing the old veterans and as I've done before, walk among the grave sites and looking at the beach, looking at what they had to cross. It's the entire experience of Normandy, Omaha Beach, the old veterans, and the grave sites. It is a moving experience, Tony. It's just a moving experience.
Yeah, and as was said, we ask for nothing more than the ground to bury those who sacrificed their lives to free France and Europe from the grip of the Nazis. I hate to break this almost sacred moment, but I do want to transition to practical application of things we're talking about, of why it's so important that we preserve this foundation. Yesterday, the House Republicans advanced to the Department of Justice criminal referrals for both Hunter and James Biden for criminal prosecution for making false statements to Congress. Your response?
It's about time. Tony, it's about time. We now know the laptop was not disinformation, as they said years ago. We now know that it is true, and they are covering for the big guy, Joe Biden. And we've searched for a way to force a lawless president to obey the law. The rule of law is the foundation that you were just addressing. So absolutely, it's about time we did this.
We're losing that element of trust in our system. And of course, I was talking with the chairman of the Judiciary Committee earlier today, Jim Jordan, and there's only so much Congress can do. In fact, moving forward with contempt charges against the Attorney General, Merrick Garland, you hold the purse strings, but beyond that, there's very little that Congress can do other than bring awareness and make this an election year issue.
Well, Tony, we do hold the power of the purse. That's what we have been unwilling to do. We've got to start clawing back Article I authority, the lawmaking, and then forcing them to obey the law, to enforce the law as the executive branch is supposed to do by using the power of the purse.
By cutting off their funds. Of course, we're in the once again in the appropriations process, and we'll see how determined Republicans are to use that leverage as we move into this election year. I want to get your response to this as well. Yesterday, House Speaker Mike Johnson appointed Congressman Scott Perry, former chairman of the House Freedom Caucus, and Congressman Ronnie Jackson to highly sought-after positions on the House Intelligence Committee, which includes oversight of intelligence gathering agencies. Do you think that this could help bring a little more confidence into the intel community by having two very strong conservatives on that committee?
Well, it should, and I think it will, because we've got two more strong conservatives, as you said, on the oversight of the intel community. And given what we did with the FISA bill, expanding the government's authority, the FBI authority to spy on Americans, this is exactly what we needed. I applaud the Speaker for it, and I look forward to their work on the Intelligence Committee.
What are you most concerned about that you will, beyond the FISA reauthorization, that you hope that they will be able to dig down on?
The intelligence that the Chinese are gathering across America in every aspect. We need to close that down so that China cannot collect intelligence across the spectrum of America.
Why do you think that there's been a reluctance to take on China from at least? I know occasionally you hear the FBI director will talk about China, but there seems to be a reluctance in our intel community. Why?
Everything is politicized these days, Tony. If you remember, in order to get FISA reauthorized, the chairman of the committee released what was classified information. That is not the way to do. And as you were saying, we're losing faith in our institutions. We've got to reinstitute the rule of law, even in the intel community.
Yeah. Congressman Keith Self, always great to see you. Thank you so much for taking time away from the activities there in Normandy to join us here on Washington Watch.
Thank you so much, Tony.